Are you guys ready for it? Alright, so here is my short Zoloft adventure. Alright guys, so today I'm here to talk to you guys about my very short Zoloft adventure, which is basically the very short stint that I did on Zoloft medication recently. Okay, so jumping right in, the reason why I did that was because, as many of you know, I was weaning down off my Trintellix medication, and that's because it had a lot of side effects that came with it and stuff, and I just wasn't feeling it anymore. It wasn't helping with the anxiety unless I was at a very high dose. Now, the high dose that was required to actually take the edge off my anxiety was 15 milligrams or higher. But the problem with going that high on the dose was that then my side effects were way more. So obviously the lower of a dose of medication you're on, the least amount of side effects that you're likely to have. Anytime that you increase the dose, the chances of you having negative side effects go up as well, in general, and especially for me, because that seems to be how my body likes to react to stuff. Yay, I guess. So, unfortunately, the Trintellix is more beneficial for depression than it is anxiety. That's not to say that it won't work for you if you have anxiety. For some people it does. For me, as I say, I needed to be on a really high dose in order for it to even touch my anxiety. And at that dose, the nausea was really bad, the stomach upset was really bad, the headaches and the sleep problems and everything else were really bad. So I couldn't stay at 15, which meant I had to go down. And as soon as I go down, it doesn't work for my anxiety anymore. So unfortunately for me, it really wasn't an option. It's not a viable option for me, meds-wise. And I've tried a lot of other medications over the years. I was on Cipralex for a couple years. I've tried Cymbalta because it's supposed to be good for fibro. That didn't work. I've tried Effexor XR. That didn't work. I've tried amitriptyline. That didn't work. Countless others I've tried. None of them have really been the one for me. None of them have really fit my physiology and my mental health needs. And so, sucks, but there you go. So, unfortunately, the Trintellix wasn't the blessed relief that I thought it would be, and so I started my journey of coming off of it. And that journey of coming off of it has lasted a really long time. So I went from 15 milligrams down to 10, stayed on 10 for a couple months, then I went from 10 down to 5, and I thought I was only going to stay on 5 for a month or two, but I've been on 5 milligrams for several months because stuff just happened in my life, and my doctor and I both agreed it was not the time to be going through withdrawal. You know, I was moving, I was dealing with Christmas, I was dealing with all these other anxieties and problems happening in my life, and it just wasn't the right time to continue the withdrawal process. Now, that being said, 5 milligrams on the Trintellix was doing nothing to help my anxiety. It's just that the last thing I needed was the withdrawal on top of that. So my plan then was to come directly off the Trintellix, not be on Trintellix at all anymore, and to just be on nothing for the first time in a really long time. And the reason was because I had never anticipated being on medication long term. It was never a plan of mine. I was originally thinking I'd be on it for like a year, and then I would just come off of it and be on nothing and be fine again. Obviously, anxiety is never like cured, so it's not like I'd come off the meds and just be better. Like, my anxiety would come back. But I was just hoping that I could deal with it on my own. And so after spending so long going through other treatments and stuff, and working on myself and working on my mental health, I figured I was finally ready to just come off the medication. So I was on 5 milligrams for a really long time, as I said. And then my plan was to go down to 2.5 and then to 0 and be on nothing at all. But as time went on and after I moved, obviously moving was a really big upheaval, but even after I had settled down and I had finished unpacking and I settled in and stuff, I was feeling really, really anxious, and I was having a lot of OCD symptoms coming through as well, which is something that really wasn't a problem before. Like, obviously, I've always been a little bit OCD with my anxiety. You like compulsively checking things or worrying that I forgot to turn something off, or like checking that things are locked and stuff. But in the last couple months, it got a lot worse, and it was like I was obsessively worrying about things that just weren't normal. Like, for example, when I moved, I spent several weeks just really, really obsessively paranoid that the stuff on the second floor was so heavy that that the ceiling above me was going to collapse, essentially, or sag a bunch. And so I would spend hours obsessively, compulsively looking at the ceiling to make sure that it wasn't sagging, and to try and tell if it was straight, and to try and see if it was falling on me. Like, getting to the point of ridiculousness. And my worries were just getting really bad, and my anxiety was getting really bad. I was having just this low-key anxiety all the time. So even when I wasn't anxious about a particular thing, I would just be having a fine day, nothing bad has happened, everything's fine, and I would be sat there with my stomach in knots, feeling that chest tightness and that just ongoing buzz of anxiety going through my system 24/7, and it really wasn't great at all. I was not in a good place, and my obsessive compulsive whatever was going on was becoming an issue. It was becoming disruptive because, as I said, I would be obsessively worrying about particular things, like the ceiling falling on me, which is obviously unrealistic. I would research how much weight houses could carry on the second floor, how builders built the second floors to withstand a certain amount of weight, and then I researched how much my furniture weighed. Like, it got to the point of silliness, and it was taking up a lot of my time, and I was worried about it all the time. And then I also was compulsively checking all the thermostats, checking all the doorknobs, checking all the locks, checking every single thing, and it got to the point where I realized it was a problem, and it was like I had OCD, for actual, like, it was an actual issue for me. And then, of course, the anxiety was really bad. My moods were going up and down, but a lot more down, and I was feeling more depressed. So when I saw my doctor, I told her all of these things, and I said, hey, like, I seem like I'm not really coping without, the help of medication. Like, I was still on 5 milligrams of Trintellix. It wasn't helping me, and I was like, hey, maybe I can't come off medication. Maybe I just can't, So she looked at my notes, saw that the psychiatrist I saw had prescribed that I try Zoloft next, and so she said, why don't we switch you from Trintellix over to Zoloft? So at that point, I was realizing I wasn't coping very well on my own, and so I agreed, and I said, yeah, sure, let's go on to Zoloft and see if it helps me. And so instead of coming entirely off Trintellix and then starting Zoloft, she decided to just switch me over kind of like bit by bit. So she said I would stay on 5 milligrams of Trintellix and add in 25 milligrams of Zoloft, which is the lowest amount of Zoloft. And then she said after a week, I would raise that to 50 milligrams of Zoloft and stay on the 5 milligrams of Trintellix. And then I would see her again. And after seeing her again, she said we would raise me up to 75 milligrams on the Zoloft, take away the Trintellix, and eventually get me up to 100 milligrams on Zoloft just on its own, no Trintellix with it. So I said, okay, that sounds good. Talked about it with my pharmacist, everything seemed good. So when I got home that night, I took my Trintellix 5 milligrams as normal, but I also started taking 25 milligrams of Zoloft. And all of a sudden, I was sleeping better. It made me really tired at night, which is when I took it. And so I was finally sleeping. That was awesome. Like, God, if you don't get sleep, it just impacts every facet of your day. And so finally sleeping well and getting up at a decent time in the morning was awesome, and I loved it, and it was great. So it seemed to be working for the first little while, and I didn't really have that many symptoms starting the 25 milligrams of Zoloft on top of the Trintellix. I had maybe a few little headaches here and there, and I felt maybe slightly off, but I didn't feel anything super worrying or super weird or super intense. So a week went by and I was still feeling fine, so I decided to stick with the plan and raise up to 50 milligrams, which is 2 of the 25 milligram capsules at bedtime in addition to the Trintellix. Now this is where the story has a little bit of a twist ending, because suddenly I wasn't feeling good. So what happened was I took the first dose of 50 milligrams and my head was just felt like it was gonna explode. Like the worst headache ever. And I just was feeling a little bit off. My brain felt like it was just like like just not right. And I just felt a little bit off, but I thought, that's normal. I'm starting a new medication and I'm adjusting the dose, and that's kind of like typical. It's like weird side effects, because that's kind of how it is for me. I get weird side effects anyway, so I thought that's fine. It's probably normal. So the next day I took my dose again, 50 milligrams of the Zoloft and my regular 5 milligrams of the Trintellix. And yeah, it wasn't good. So my headache was very, very intense. I would have a headache pretty much all day and all night. It never really went away, and it really, really hurt and was just horrible. And even taking Advil and Tylenol and everything only took the edge off, but it didn't even get rid of it entirely, which is not usual for me. Usually Advil works and it's gone, but nope. It was like a really bad migraine. And then I was suddenly sleeping a lot, like it would make me really tired, and it would make me very tired during the day. And then what happened was my pupils in my eyes got ginormous. It was like I was an alien. I'm not even kidding you. My husband was like, "Your pupils are gigantic," and I was like, "What? No." And I looked in the bathroom and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like they were absolutely gigantic, just the craziest big, like they took over my whole eyeball. Obviously not, but like they were big, and they felt tingly. Like if you've ever been to the optometrist and you've had those dilating drops put in your eyes feel kind of tingly and itchy almost, like your eyes feel weird. They felt exactly like that. So they felt like an optometrist had put dilating drops in my eyes. So it wasn't just that they were dilating, it was that they felt weird and they felt painful. So that was abnormal. I also felt quite dizzy. I felt tense, like my muscles were tensing up. I couldn't really have much balance, and my appetite totally just disintegrated. I felt quite sick. My headache was terrible, and as I said, never really went away. I was really fatigued and lethargic. It just was not good at all. Now, all of that is fairly normal except for the pupil stuff. Like that's concerning. Probably you should look into that if that happens. Like you don't want to mess around with your eyes. Your eyes and your sight is really important, so don't mess around with it. So that was a huge concern for me, and I was like, The biggest concern for me is that when I woke up the next day, I couldn't feel love. Yep, you heard me right. I woke up and I looked at my husband and I thought to myself, I don't feel love for him. Now, this might be normal for some couples. It's not normal for me. We have a great relationship. Obviously, we have ups and downs like every other couple, but we recently got married. It is not normal that I would just not feel love. Like, that's not normal. And it wasn't even just him. I noticed it most with him, but I feel like it was all of my relationships. I didn't really feel connection to anybody. I didn't even feel that same overwhelming sense of love for my cats, and they're like my babies. So, I felt very disconnected. I felt very apathetic, and I just felt like I couldn't feel happiness, I couldn't feel excitement, and I couldn't feel love, And what's the point of having a medication dull the negative emotions if it also dulls the positive ones? And I said to him, I can't stay on this because, having love for your partner is what gets you through the rough spots in your relationship. Like, everybody has annoying things that they do or like flaws, and obviously your love for somebody is what makes you overlook those flaws, and you say, oh yeah, you're annoying because you didn't do the dishes, but I love you. If you don't feel love, it's like all those negative things just get to you, and you're like, why am I with this person? He didn't even do the dishes. Like, that's not healthy. So I said to him, like, I can't stay on this. So I ended up on my own going back down to 25 milligrams instead of 50. I just was like, nope, I can't do 50 anymore. It took a couple days for my eyes to go back to normal, and they did once I was down on the 25 milligrams, but they still feel kind of sensitive. Like, they're not 100% okay yet, but the pupils aren't gigantic like an alien anymore, so that's good. I started feeling love again, so that's really awesome. Can't say enough good things about feeling love and happiness. So I'm able to feel emotions again, so that's great. And yeah, unfortunately the headaches didn't really go away, even down on the 25 milligrams, still feeling headaches. So I saw my doctor, I explained all that to her. I said, I can't do these because, one, they made my pupils gigantic and hurt, which isn't healthy, and two, they stopped me from feeling love. And she was like, oh yeah, that's crappy. So, we decided that wasn't going to work anymore. And so, but I had to do something because my medication situation isn't working out for me. So I decided I was going to continue tapering down on the Trintellix, but I'm not going to be switching over to a higher dose of Zoloft like the original plan. So now the new plan is get off Trintellix and use the 25 milligrams of Zoloft to make getting off Trintellix easier. And then once I'm off the Trintellix, then I can see how I feel on just 25 milligrams alone of Zoloft. And if that's not working for me still, I'm just going to stop the Zoloft as well. So I'm kind of back on my original plan of just coming off everything entirely. And then at that point, when I'm off everything, I'm going to give my body a little time to adjust and just see if maybe I'll be okay after that transition period is over, and maybe I can use all the techniques and stuff that I learned to cope on my own. And if not, at that point, I'll explore other options. But for right now, I've tried so many meds, and the Zoloft clearly isn't an option for me, so I'm just going to continue on my new plan. So I've now gone from 5 milligrams of Trintellix down to just 2.5 in my goal of coming off of it, and so I'm now on 2.5 milligrams of Trintellix and 25 milligrams of Zoloft, which is the lowest dose, and then in about a week and a half, I'm going to go down to nothing on the Trintellix and just 25 milligrams of Zoloft. And after that, I'll probably stop the Zoloft as well, because right now it's still causing headaches and stuff. So yeah, I hope that all makes sense. I feel like I'm all over the place, and I hope that video made sense chronologically or factually. If it didn't, I will try and make another update soon. Basically, I'm going to keep you guys posted on how I'm feeling. So far, coming down from 5 milligrams to 2.5 milligrams, I've been okay. Not fantastic, but nothing crazy has happened, and I'm down to 2.5 milligrams. If anyone is interested in figuring out how you can actually take 2.5 milligrams of Trintellix, the smallest denomination of pills you can get is 5 milligrams, and because they're teardrop shaped, you can't just break them in half in order to take them. But I went to a compounding pharmacy, and because of the coating, they can't grind them up to compound them. but she said that what you can do is you can cut them lengthwise in order to get 2.5. So I have been cutting them in half manually, lengthwise from the top to the bottom, so that, you know, if it's a teardrop shape, you cut it this way instead of this way, so that you're getting, you know, a teardrop shape on either side. That's how I'm getting 2.5 milligrams, and it's been working pretty okay so far, although they're a pain in the butt to cut apart. And yeah, so currently I'm on 2.5 milligrams of Trintellix and 25 milligrams of Zoloft. Like I said, pretty soon I'm going to be on no Trintellix at all, so I'll keep you guys posted on how that withdrawal goes. As with any kind of withdrawing, definitely do it slowly if you're coming down off of medications. Wean off really, really slowly. That's the only advice that I can really give, is do not rush it. So, yeah, hopefully I still feel okay when I, you know, come down even further, and hopefully I can manage my anxiety myself. And if not, my plan is to try some more natural alternatives. I might be looking into St. John's wort, I might be looking into some other supplements, dietary changes, and as always, just continuing to practice self-care, continuing to practice as much exercise as I can with my fibro, and just taking care of myself. And I think I'm going to be okay. I have a positive feeling that I'll get through it and that I'll be fine. And I am going to be working through my CBT again. I have a lot of videos coming up on CBT, so stay tuned for those. I'm going to be breaking them down into chapters and going over everything that I learned in my course with you guys. And I think going over it again will really help me to, you know, they say if you're able to teach something that you're able to know it really, really well. So, you know, butchered that quote, but there you go. I'm hoping that by making some videos about CBT for you guys, it'll help give me an excuse to go over all of it again myself and hopefully refresh all of it in my head, and I can continue to work on those things. So that is my plan. Thank you for sticking through this video. I know it was kind of long, and I would just like to say thank you for all of your support, all of your comments. I love hearing from you guys and hearing your stories and your input. It really makes my day to hear from you, so feel free to keep commenting and posting. I try my best to reply to every single one. So I hope that you're having a really great day, and I will talk to you guys with an update very soon when I make my next change. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.